So, Tron Ares is the story of Ares, a security program built by the Dillinger Company, headed up by a young man named Julian Dillinger, played by Evan Peters. Ares is a security program inside of the grid, a large virtual world. Think of like the Matrix. It's inside of a computer. It's technical. And it's lots of lines and wires. You know Tron. If you listen to this, you know what we're talking about. We got video up talking about it. And Ares is played by Jared Leto. Ares is brought into the real world via this large kind of 3D printer machine to carry out a very specific task from Julian Dillinger, to go to this rival company, Encom, where the kind of lead programmer, played by Greta Lee there, a woman named Eve Kim, has just developed the Permanence Code, I think is the name of it.
The MacGuffin Code.
The Permanence Code, which will allow 3D printed beings that come out of the grid, like Ares, to stay indefinitely in the real world rather than breaking down after 29 minutes. It's this funny little device they use in the movie a few times. Ares has to go get the permanence code from Eve at Encom and get back to Dillinger. That's the movie, or at least that's where we start. Once they run into each other, things get a bit more complicated. The movie is Tron Ares. It stars Jared Leto, Greta Lee, Evan Peters, Jeff Bridges, Gillian Anderson, and is the third in the Tron series. For anybody who hasn't seen the other two, original Tron came out in 86, I'm going to say. Starred
82.
Jeff Bridges. 82. Jeff Bridges was a technological marvel, great soundtrack, bombed at the box office. Red Letter Media already made this joke. Tron Legacy comes out in 2016, stars Jeff Bridges, Garrett Hedlund, Olivia Wilde. Looks very good. Great soundtrack from Daft Punk. Bombs the box office. Now we have... Also didn't come out in 2016. That's wrong. When did
2010.
Tron like 2010? Yeah. And then now we have Tron Ares. Thank you on the years. Good God, you're on it. Anyway, we have Tron Ares and it's here. It is clad in red and starring Jared Leto. Andy, what did you think of the movie?
So I think I actually enjoyed this more than most. I think this is kind of getting overhated online. I think people are just going in with unrealistic expectations. Again, these movies have never really been that great. Like they're visually kind of stunning, good soundtracks, but it's not really like hard sci-fi. They're not bringing really incredible like concepts. It's not like Arrival or something like that. So I went in with pretty low expectations and I had a good time. To me, I think the soundtrack really helps it. Like the soundtrack from Nine Inch Nails is just like kind of booming the whole time. It's like an EDM experience. You're just going along with the action. The visuals are really great. I think you have to look at this almost like this is a Disney property. It's a Disney movie in a lot of ways. Great for the family. Take the kids, take the people who go see like 2 movies a year. Because everything is the plot is pretty thin. Our characters are stock. You could have anyone, you could swap out any character for you could have 20 actors play Ares and it really wouldn't make such a much difference because they're all written pretty stock, pretty just lame. Greta Lee is unfortunately underused. Like again, anyone could have played her. She does a good job. I did actually like Jodie Turner-Smith's performance as Athena. She's also like a soldier program, kind of Terminator-esque character. So I had a good time, and I think a lot of this works, but I think people are just kind of expecting too much from this. I thought it was fine.
Yeah, I'm in the expecting too much camp, I think. I really didn't like this movie. I didn't like it at all. I really struggled with it. Nearly fell asleep. Boring. The plot is awful. Every character is one note. There's 5 too many characters. The best parts about it are its visuals, its music, and there's some lofty themes in there. I'll be honest. Like there's some stuff in there that works good. And it leaves me thinking that, yeah, I think I've just fallen out of this audience. I really went for Tron Legacy. I was a big Daft Punk fan. I still kind of am. And so being that they only made like 5 or 6 albums over the course of their career, like, and Tron Legacy is one of them, that's a big deal. Like, and it's a great soundtrack. It's a Joseph Kosinski film before he did Top Gun Maverick, before he did F1. This feels like movie by executive. It is like every safe decision possible might as well be made by AI. It just feels so awful. But also, yeah, I have to remember, like, it's a Disney film, you know? It's a Disney film. And like for children who are probably into it, right? Young kids, like it's probably a great time. I remember how much I liked Tron Legacy when I was younger and how cool that was. So in that way, like I think that's the reason it's getting like a 57 on Rotten and an 85 critics like audience score, is because like people generally like it, but as a critic and somebody who's looking for something a little deeper, it just feels real hollow. But let's talk about it. Should probably talk about the look first, I think, and then the sound, and then let's get into our characters and plot, right? Because really, I think the two things Tron does best is presentation, both in look and sound. So the look of it, movie shot in Vancouver. It's mostly just kind of outside the grid. There's stuff in the grid to flip on the traditional format. Our old Tron movies, character gets pulled into the grid, right? They get pulled into the virtual world, and that's where we have our big adventure. Well, here it's the opposite. They're breaking out of the virtual world. Fortunately, we definitely get some grid stuff, but it's a secondary location. There's also a couple other variations of the grid. We don't do spoilers here, so I don't want to talk too much about it, but there's kind of some clever iterations and callbacks to previous series. Part of the reason Jeff Bridges is in the film. But for the most part, we have a very red movie. Red LEDs, red lights, red paint, and all that stuff looks great. The way these like red bikes and red machines come out and like pour through the city and leave these like solid walls of light that are like cutting cars in half and stuff is really cool. Like, it looks rad. It seems interesting. You don't know exactly how it works. And when you do get pulled into the grid, every minute you're in there, it just seems like this boundless place of fantasy land. It's like Mario going to the Mushroom Kingdom or something. It's like Neo going into the Matrix. Like, I think all of that stuff looks fantastic. Machines like building out of code and like degrading and exploding into things. Like, really good looking movie. And it sounds fantastic too.
Yeah, I really went for the visuals. It looks really cool. It starts off, there's a big motorcycle chase early on in the film. You got the light cycles, like you said, cutting cars. They spend a lot of time outside of the grid, kind of outside of the Matrix world, which some people don't like. I thought it was fine. The visuals are part of what works best. You have these cool 3D printed soldiers and 3D printed equipment inside the digital world and out. Sometimes it does kind of look a little bit too video gamey, like you feel like you're playing, Call of Duty or something. It's particularly when you're in the grid world, it looks very cutscene and video game like. But again, the visuals are one of the things that impressive, and that's what I kept thinking, like, this would be great for younger viewers, like for people like 10-year-olds that are done with the Minions, ready for something a little bit more mature. That's the kind of movie, and it has a lot of action and all through the film. So that was the things that I think that it does well, and that did work for me.
Yeah, music's also great. Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross return for the score, but rather than running under like the traditional, God, it's funny I say traditional like composing names, but traditionally they are Nine Inch Nails, right? Like that's where those guys got started. That is their band. They switched into composing music more and got out of doing Nine Inch Nails right around the time Fincher made The Social Network. I think that was their first big film they were doing a composition for, and now they've done a bunch. They've done a bunch of films and have been nominated for Academy Awards. Like they're incredible composers. So to do this movie, but under the banner of Nine Inch Nails, seems like it might just be a bit of a marketing gimmick. Like, oh, cool, yeah, they're Nine Inch Nails, but like they're definitely still film composers. But no, this film has a very distinct musical identity that is very good. I think it's probably, I haven't listened to it on Spotify like by itself yet, but it probably plays great without the film alongside it. It reminds me of Daft Punk's score, but it also reminds me of like Ludwig Göransson's score for Black Panther 2. Like scenes that are like very specifically composed and tonally set with a musical identity. When Eve is discovering the permanence code and growing like a tree out of the grid and like into reality, like you get a very like peaceful, thoughtful thing. When Ares is like ripping it down a highway at night, like and cutting cars in half, like you get big action, like really smart, specific compositional choices that have a ton of identity and soul in them. So like when it gets to the end and says music by Nine Inch Nails, you could feel that. You're like, yeah, it feels like it came from a very particular entity, place. That stuff's really solid.
Yeah, I think the score is one of the things that I think does a lot of heavy lifting. It really elevates all the action scenes that we see. It keeps it keeps the film. It helps keep it going. I've listened to it on its own. I've really enjoyed it. I think it's, again, one of the things that helps this work a little bit more for me than I think otherwise it would have been kind of rough. I wanted to get into plot a little bit. This is where it starts to kind of fall apart. The plot is a little overly complicated. You have competing grids. They got to get the MacGuffin code to, because our soldiers kind of disintegrate after 30 minutes, and this will give them permanence, and then we can sell them to the Department of Defense. There's a lot going on. It definitely feels like that film by committee and unnecessarily complicated. Also, there's a bunch of lore and Easter eggs to callbacks to the other two Tron films, which nobody knows. And I was like, these are probably important names, but I do not remember the other films enough to it. And they should have just let that go. Just, act like no one knows any of that stuff.
Yeah.
Go ahead. It's just kind of a little bit too complicated. We do have hints of other movies. We got a little bit of Terminator in there with our soldiers being chased by these programs. But it's just overly complicated for sure.
Yeah, and like Disney's really split on the presentation here because the character of Tron, as far as I know, doesn't actually appear in the film. So naysayers and fans of the old will say, well, why you call it a Tron movie? It's not Tron. And they're like, well, people don't remember who Tron is, so you don't have to get into that. But then you watch the film and you're like, there's a bunch of lore in here that you're expecting people to connect with. A little odd. For the most part, doing the new stuff is good. I think Evan Peters is great as Julian Dillinger. If anything, I wish he'd had a little bit more to do. Gillian Anderson's a lot of fun as his mom and kind of like the previous heir to the Dillinger Corporation, who was originally in the previous film. That was the guy that stole Kevin Flynn's game, that pulled him into Tron, like kind of put everything in motion. In the previous film, Legacy, is played by Cillian Murphy. He played Cillian. It's complicated. Cillian Murphy's in the last movie. He was kind of that character. But now we're here. For the most part, our characters are Tron or Ares, played by Jared Leto, and Eve, played by Greta Lee. And like, I like thematically what these characters are doing. Eve is trying to use AI as like, and the grid as like the future. Like they literally have her growing like orange trees, right? Like bringing the fruit to the world, right? Eve. There's one of those lofty themes we mentioned. Ares and Athena, meanwhile, these two security programs are trying to stop her and get that back. And Ares has implications in Greek to the god of war, of course. Athena is the huntress. Like, I totally see that. That's cool. But like, the movie's got a few too many characters. Like, outside of just these few we've mentioned.
Way too many characters.
Yeah, Eve has a sidekick, and then like that sidekick, there's a CEO of Encom, played by Hassan Minaj, and he's got a sidekick who's like barely in there, and like Julian Dillinger's got a couple people running around him that don't need to be in there. Cameron Monaghan shows up in this movie really briefly, and a lot of that points to like probably problems in production, along with like a blown up budget, right? So considering how much money they spent on that movie, a bit of ADR in the film. There's some stuff they kind of cover up, some things that are exposition that's covered with like screens. There's been some maybe implications that there was a bit of a romance subplot between Ares and Eve that was kind of backed off, it seems, in the film. Their relationship is pretty casual, but it just feels like it's lacking in consequence, which feels like a tall thing to say for like a Disney movie. But every time a character is backed into a corner, they just get sucked into the grid. And then they're in the grid, and oh no, how are we getting out of this? They get sucked back out of the real world. Like every time something seems like it's going to get bad, they just get portaled away. And it's like, okay, I get it. It's a Disney film though. And it's unfair for me to say that, like, I don't know. I think it's kind of an unfair critique, but watching it as an adult, I can't help but feel like, man, this is just like I don't know. It just feels small.
Gillian Anderson is also in this film, and for some reason has a British accent. Like, she's not British.
I was told she was British. Is she for sure not?
I don't really know. Now I'm not uncertain.
I know.
I heard that she wasn't, and she's putting in one here. But like Evan Peters doesn't have a British accent, so it kind of isn't making sense. But yes, there's way too many characters, and this is where it seems like they're like, well, we need a woman and a person of color, and they need to be in positions of, again, it's committed to death, and there's just like 10 main characters, and it's just too much. I think Greta Lee is good, and this is like her first really big budget movie after she kind of hit it big with Past Lives, and also she's on the morning show on Apple TV. She's fine, but I said every character in here could be swapped with any other. Like, name 10 other lead actresses, you could swap them and it wouldn't make, because they're not unique enough. They don't have enough personality. Outside Jodie Turner-Smith, who I really liked as Athena. Everyone else, like Chris Pratt could have played Ares, Miles Teller, Glenn Powell. Glenn Powell actually would have been probably pretty kind of funny, but it was just like the characters are so bland. And but it, again, through the lens of like a Disney Channel film, it's great.
Yeah, like I'm really not a fan of Leto at the top. I feel like he's been getting a lot of criticism, and he rightly should. Like he's playing Ares like this, like Terminator, essentially, like cold-hearted machine, right? Like no emotion. But then over the course of the movie, he starts to discover like empathy, and that like Eve's character has a different intention for the grid, and like hopefulness and goodness for the world. And this permanence code could mean that things could really last and things could really change, right? And he doesn't have to be a cold-hearted machine. And like Leto just does not emote that at all. It's really poor. And it's like, this is just not, I don't know. I wasn't convinced. I didn't fall for it. Like, and again, maybe I'm too old for this stuff. Somebody suggested maybe Evan Peters should have played the character. She played both Julian Dillinger and then like the alternate security program version that Dillinger created, right? Ares. And I was like, that would have been cool. Like we've seen him play stuff like that on American Horror Story. He can play multiple roles. Like, I don't know. Yeah, I think Leto is kind of miscast. Greta Lee, I think, ends up just screaming a lot. Like, it's a bummer. I think there's some obvious problems in the edit. I think there's some obvious problems in the direction. Joachim Rønning directed it. He directed Pirates of the Caribbean 5, and Maleficent 2 for Disney. And then most recently, in 2024, he did that new Daisy Ridley movie, The Woman in the Sea, where she's swimming through the thing, which
Right.
I heard was okay. Like, I heard that was all right. Clearly, that got him the runway to do this movie. But it's just messy, and it just doesn't feel like anything of real import happens. And it's kind of pro AI and oddly pro like technology in the future is good. We should keep running towards it. And overall, it just ends up feeling like the other Tron movies. It's like visually great, music's great, thematically interesting, lacking in plot for me. And I just felt like it didn't get over the line.
With Leto, it's funny because I think he's an executive producer on this movie. So, his character, like they describe Ares and they're like, he's the smartest, the strongest, the fastest. No one is better than, and it's like, you literally are writing that about yourself.
Just glazing right there in a Disney film, for God's sake. Think of the children.
Yeah. Oh,
I don't know. Anyway, I'm running out of things to say about Tron Ares. I wish I didn't feel this way. Like, I think I'm suffering overhype a little bit. I think I'm definitely suffering like my opinions of the previous film. It happens all the time. I want to be objective here. I want to say that this is not as bad as I'm claiming. I don't think it is. So with that, any other thoughts or recommendations, Andy?
I think I'm ready.
Andy, would you recommend Tron Ares?
I think I would recommend it for fans and for casual film goers. I think the visuals work really well. The soundtrack is just like pulsing all the way through. It's a lot of fun. It is very dumbed down. Like I said, it's good for younger audiences or for like my first action film, that sort of thing. The plot's all over the place. Way too many characters. They're really forgettable. If you're on the fence, probably save it for streaming.
I'm in the opposite camp. I think Tron Ares is a big skip. Wait for it to come to Disney Plus and watch it on the smallest screen possible. I hope they learn a lesson. I don't think they'll make their money back. I know it comes out next week in China. Maybe it'll have some kind of big pop, but it seems like it's met under expectations. It's going to continue to underperform. It'll slide over there in 60 days, 45 days. Go watch it there. You're not missing anything. You don't need to see it in a theater. Good soundtrack, though. Great soundtrack. We should talk about, upcoming trailers, right? That's the next thing we got. We got a big outline this week. All right, we got a lot happening. What do we call this segment, Andy?
It's time for the trailer park.